Hello, and welcome to the session titled From Raw Data to Insights, Simplifying Data Validation and Enrichment. Your speakers for today are Andy Bell, VP of Product Management, and Emily Washington, SVP of Product Management. If you have any questions, make sure to use the comment section, and we will try to get back to you as best as we can if we run out of time during the session. Thank you, and enjoy. For this session, if you must step away, please do not pause the session. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to access it later. We would love to hear back from you, so use the Q&A tab to communicate with the presenters. There will be time to answer questions at the end of the presentation. If you would like to get in touch with us, please use the demo, chat, and content buttons in the menu on the left and below in the session details. And lastly, please tell us how we did. Use the thumbs up button below to give us your feedback, or you can respond later to a post-event notification. And now to Andy Bell.
Thank you very much, Carmen, and hello, everybody. Emily and I are here today to discuss data validation and the enrichment challenges our customers are faced with and how we help resolve those challenges efficiently and effectively. But let's start somewhere, which is with a problem that a customer had and a set of issues that I think a lot of us will be able to relate to and see within our own businesses. And this was a large procurement service company, and they started and they could see that they had a lack of complete and accurate master data. And we see that again and again. Internal data systems aren't connected together. They're not collecting all the information you need as a business. And it's not organized in the manner that you want it to be organized. And that means that maintenance and enhancement processes are difficult. They're complex, prone to errors, and very lengthy. And that has an impact on all of us as a business, and in particular with this business. And it meant that it really couldn't react to new business partners effectively and efficiently in the way that they wanted to be able to do. And they weren't able to deliver the services and features that their customers were expecting to see from an organization of their time. And that meant that it also took time to bring these new services and offer them to the market. It was too long. And ultimately, that's going to be putting their growth at risk and unable to reach the goals they wanted to reach as a business. So a series of issues and problems that I think we're all very, very familiar with. And I think what Emily and I want to do today is run through how precisely supported this organization, but how we support all organizations to be able to validate effectively and efficiently, and to be able to enrich and deliver the insights that you need to be able to run your business. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Emily, who's going to dig a little bit more into the troubles that our customers can have with data and lacking of integrity within that data.
Great, thanks, Andy. And as Andy mentioned, this is one example that we regularly see. We partnered with, we partnered with Drexel University's LeBeau College of Business on a survey on data integrity trends and insights. This reportedly published in June, but we surveyed more than 450 data leaders from around the world. And there are a couple of interesting insights that are very representative of what Andy just walked through. The data program goals align with what we'd expect, but 77% are saying that that is their top goal for data-driven decision-making. However, less than 54% of respondents rate their organization's ability to trust the data for decision-making as high or very high. And as you can see here, 41% also said that the biggest challenge of leveraging location data in particular is that the address data isn't standardized, verified, and fit for purpose. And that aligns to the story that Andy started to kick us off with. If I dig into that just a little bit deeper, a lot of the data troubles that we're seeing, I assume you're here because you are encountering these challenges. If you think about all the things that we run into in terms of having complicated, disparate validation and enrichment processes those add time and investment into achieving those enterprise goals. We have poor quality third-party enrichment data sets, and that requires a specialized talent and resources to integrate into systems. And poor data validation can lead to increased risks in things like security breaches, data loss, and other risks associated with data management. A lot of these troubles, are ones that we regularly see. We're working with many of you to solve, and I just want to kind of kick off how we actually go about doing that. If we look at just a very simplified process, you want to validate and enrich to get to your business insights. Sounds really easy, right? But a lot of the issues that we continue to run into is really based on a high level of complexity in the data sets that we are working with. And so when we look at validation, in particular, that includes everything from basic format conformance to consistency across data locations, but it also includes things like deduplicating, resolving, doing entity resolution, being able to observe changes of data, and ensuring data is within reasonable thresholds. When we look at just reconciling matching data across multiple sources, that can get very complex, and there's a lot of logic that goes into that. We understand that high quality data is critical for decision making, and we've all invested in trying to solve these challenges. And one of the things that we're really focused on here at Precise is how do we simplify that process? So, Andy, maybe we can jump into a little bit on just what we think about data enrichment and how we get to those business insights.
Absolutely, Emily. And I think what we also see from the LeBeau survey was data enrichment, particularly with third-party data, is a top priority. And really, there's two key things that an organization would be looking to do there, either to be able to complete their internal data sets, so add and fill in data sets, or bring in additional information, usually market information, to give them benchmarks, understand, well, how many people do live in that area? How many businesses are available? Is that property exposed to risk, some form of risk, be it wildfire, flooding, and such like? And what enrichment allows you to do is to then discover critical relationships, bring out patterns, and inform the insights processes. And really, that's around driving that data-driven decision making that Josh has touched on earlier. And within that enrichment process, they're really looking at being able to do it consistently at scale. And that is really, really difficult. And to be able to do that, first of all, you do need to have good validated data, but also be able to perform enrichment in an effective and efficient manner, and that you can integrate and maintain in a low cost, less time consuming manner. Because ultimately what we want to do is spend more time looking at insights. And if we move on to the insights element, we always come back to that, standard statistic. Everybody says, I spend 80% of my time processing, validating, enriching my data, and I only spend 20% on the insights. And the insights is the important part for most of us as a business. So as we look at those insights, it's really around being able to deliver information that allows an organization to make decisions by having validated data, good third-party enrichment data. It means that you can do that with confidence and trust that information. But from that insights, what you want to be able to do is identify, how can I drive revenue? Who do I need to target to be able to increase that revenue? What are the best markets I should be operating in? And how do I deliver, product offerings that are personalized and directed to the right place and the right people? And if you can do that, it means that you can save time and resources by having that effective process to be able to deliver those insights based on good quality internal data and good quality appended and enrichment data as well. And really to dig into that, I think, Emily, you're going to kind of show the process that we go through at a top level as we move through to be able to deliver those insights.
Right. Yeah. So, when we look at how we approach this, there tends to be a consistent process that we all try to follow, right? We need to connect to the data sources, and it could be one or many. It could be internal. It could be your third-party data. And the first thing you want to do is, everything from detecting null values or deduplicate records, or make sure that they're conforming to certain formats. But where the rubber meets the road, if you will, and really validating information is getting to more of that advanced logic. How do you detect, relative to historical patterns? How do you detect changes or inaccuracies based on certain information that you're collecting? So, making sure things are within reasonable thresholds, you are doing that entity resolution. And a lot of what we run into is, we often identify, multiple representations of the same information, specifically around address and location data. This is a key pain point we regularly see, and it's becoming even more critical with more analytics driving business decisions. And so resolving the differences really is difficult, and it can often result in process failure and incorrect analysis. And that's where we really focus and make sure that we can bring simplification to this process. So if you take that address, when you validate, you want to verify it's a mailable location, for example. You want to be able to make sure that it is a valid address. And through geocoding, maybe you want to pinpoint a physical location. You want to attach a latitude, longitude, and that allows you to provide more analytics around the data that is being obtained from different geographic regions, or you want to apply analytics for certain types of businesses or areas of location. And then, when you think about address information, how do you start to identify, through maybe address autocomplete, having that ability to return address suggestions. We don't know what we don't know when it comes to our location data. So, when you think about all these different elements, we take validation one step further with geo addressing, which allows us to get a lot more intelligent in how we append the data, how we really standardize your address information for those analytics. But there's a really unique differentiator that we provide. And Andy, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk a bit about what that is and how we go about doing that as a part of our validation process.
Absolutely, Emily. And what Emily was talking about there, the heart of it was the value and the power of an address and the value that can bring to our customers. And one of the things that we realized was, when we look at, we validate that address, we clean it, and we dedupe it, and all of that information. What we wanted to be able to do was make the enrichment process much more straightforward, easier, efficient, again, reduce that time to when you can do the insights. And at the core of that is the precisely ID. This is our unique and persistent ID that we append to an address. And by putting this onto the address, it means that we're able to link a whole host of other data assets, of a whole host of different sources and capabilities to that address. And it makes it easy because we've taken the processing out of that. What you have is a straightforward ID lookup. Precisely ID looks to the data set and says, oh, I can pull that attribution back. And that's how we get access, particularly to context data. And we'll touch on that a little later in another session. But this is spatial information. And the Precisely ID allows our customers to access what could be seen traditionally as quite difficult data to deal with. And we make that really, really important. The things it can help you look at is you can look and see, can I append the property attributes? Can I understand the building footprint and the characteristics of that building footprint or the legal land parcel? Do I know what businesses are there? Do I know the types of people that live in that location? Is it exposed to flood? Is it on a one-way street? All of that information can be gathered directly through the Precisely ID. And by doing that, it means that we can enhance those insights on that clean, validated address in a straightforward manner. And we can go back to many use cases that our customers are looking to apply, being able to look at a comprehensive view of their customers, be able to have insights about the characteristics of the location of the address, the demographics, to be able to promote and services that are more appropriate to them, be able to deliver items that they've purchased more effectively, to be able to understand, if you're an insurance or a financial company, being able to understand the risks that are at that property and around in the associated area. And it really all sort of accumulates that really it helps our customers be able to make those decisions, be able to run their businesses. And because we're doing it in a much more, I know I keep saying it, efficient and effective manner, it means you can spend more time doing that. I mean, any way you can cut down that the 80% processing, the more time you have to do the right things. And you don't have to be data processing specialists. You can be a specialist in the businesses that you run. So as we put that all together, if we go back to the organization we were talking about and the difficulties they were having, what were we able to deliver them by putting those processes together? First of all, automation, being able to automate their validation and data quality processes across the entire business and for their customers and suppliers. It meant that they had a reduction in risk of their IT and operational teams because they were in control. There wasn't that manual process. There wasn't the opportunity for error, particularly human-driven error. We know that we make them. And it means that they were able to work with an enrichment partner as well, who could bring in additional information about the businesses that they were working with and the location information around those businesses. And ultimately, it meant that they could get to market much quicker with the capabilities that they wanted to deliver to their customers, which meant that they can drive growth and deliver and replicate the go-to-market strategy. So really, by delivering those capabilities into that organization, they were able to transform, become much more efficient, and do a much better job in terms of serving their customers. So a great outcome for them, and we see that again and again across the business customers that we work with. And I think really, Emily's now going to really look at how we're wrapping that up and just bring in a few conclusions around how we can help our customers.
Great, thanks, Andy. When you think about these use cases that we're talking about, there's a number of things that go into that. Obviously, the software data itself, which is what we've been talking about here. There's a set of rules. There's a set of data that helps really solve these problems. But one of the things that we are really focused on is how do we bring these processes to the data to make it as quick and easy for you as possible. So, there's a number of ways that, we're able to support delivering these outcomes. Obviously different tools that we provide. We have the ability to run these processes via APIs and SDKs, which allows you to really bring these processes, these validation enrichment capabilities to the source and allow you to be able to standardize and cleanse this information where that data lives. And then there's also managed services. One of the things that we often see is, organizations just wanting to do a quick, I want to be able to fix my address data, for specific projects or on a recurring basis, but I don't want to have to deal with it, so having that ability to access the multiple ways to do that is something that we are very focused on. And if we think about a lot of things that you hopefully just saw in our keynote around the data integrity suite, this is an area that we're really excited about, the innovation that's going into this. The data integrity suite does allow us to provide yet even more integrated experiences and options to allow you to scale for the growing number of analytical use cases that we're seeing. The fact that this is modular and interoperable, it allows us to combine capabilities in a way that we've never been able to before. So when you think about everything that Andy and I have been talking about here in terms of the validation, the enrichment, there's a number of capabilities that can go into that to truly optimize and simplify how you go about doing that. Data quality allows us to deliver that accurate and consistent, fit for purpose data integrity, geo-addressing that I touched on that extends to that address verification, the geocoding, the address autocomplete allows us to really unlock that valuable insights. And obviously, none of that can happen without the data enrichment capabilities that Andy has touched on. How do we leverage that precisely ID and be able to really bring together information in a way that we haven't been able to before? So with that, I do want to open it up. We've been getting some good questions coming in, so we'll go ahead and start to address those questions.
Great. So I think this first question, Emily, it says, how does the data quality tool implement identity resolution to ensure accuracy and data integrity?
That's a great question. And this is one that we regularly see. When you think about identifying information across disparate sources, particularly around customer information or maybe it's account details or product information, how do you really bring together disparate sources and identify missing information so you can truly understand the 360 view, if you will, of that data? And entity resolution is really core to that. Having that ability to not only standardize and normalize the data, but particularly when we think about address information, consumer data, it gets very complex. So having what we do is we have a number of advanced algorithms that really do that matching and that relationship building that allows you to be able to bring together those data sets and taking into consideration things like different spellings of information, nicknames, cultural variances. There's a number of matching algorithms that we provide that allows you to really be able to standardize that data. And you want to be able to see all of that in one place as well. Andy had that graphic up, that one location and all the intelligence that you can get there. But what happens when you start to really build visualizations around that single entity? So it's not just about resolving the entity, but being able to get that holistic view of what that data provides. And so we have a number of ways in our tools to allow us to do that as well. I don't know if Andy, there's anything you would add to that.
I think you covered that very comprehensively. Absolutely.
All right, thank you. We got another question here that says, enhancing insights with clean address data. How well does that work with non-US or UK data in regions with limited geocoding or geospatial data?
I can take that one. We certainly have, address validation, geocoding, and enrichment data available across the globe. You're absolutely right, though. As you look at different countries, there are different capabilities that you're able to do. What we'd say is that I would say in major economies with a good structured address, We have, excellent address validation, the geocoding, and then we have both local and global data sets to be able to support that. Our data portfolio looks around streets, POI, so businesses, demographics, boundaries, and we associate those with the geocoding as well. What we are doing is starting to progress the internationalization, so to speak. So outside the US, I am international, I'm in the UK. It is coming to a whole host of countries. We have around about 14 countries and territories. And when we have the precisely ID in place, it means that we can link our enrichment data sets that we have available in those countries to the address, again, making those processes easier. If you want to get into depth around that, we have obviously experts you can talk about around, what you're able to do in different countries. Some countries just have extremely limited data available, and particularly when you look at things like government data around demographics and such like, there is only certain things that they collect. There was a statistic we used to put out is I can't remember what the actual financial figure was, but basically this was the budget for the US Census, the entire military budget for Portugal, and something like the gross domestic product for another country. So you can start to see the scale which different countries have to operate within. So yeah, it's variable, but we've got good, comprehensive and the detailed coverage that you would need and can expect to see within each country.
Thank you, Andy. We have another question here that says, how do you manage audit history and can customers track changes to an address? For example, what changes have happened in the last year for a specific address? Emily?
Yeah, I can take that. So it does depend on how much information we retain in the solution. So you can always build match rules against historical information that we have captured, everything from the address details as well as anomalies that we have detected, and be able to look against that history. So there are multiple ways that we can kind of retain what that historical pattern looked like in order to detect changes. The other thing I would also say is there's this increasing need for data observability. We touched on this in the keynote. There's this movement on how do you start to detect changes based on historical patterns. So how do we start to surface data quality or data integrity issues more proactively? And so when you think about observing changes to your address data, having that ability to detect, if the pattern has changed, if the address information itself has changed, there's multiple ways that we can apply more analytics, machine learning to actually detect more proactively what those changes might look like. I don't know if Andy, there's anything else, from an enrichment perspective, particularly since we're managing a lot of address data, that you would want to add to that.
Yeah, what I would also add to it, obviously there are things like postcode changes, and we manage an awful lot of that. And what we deliver within our enrichment is data sets, is updates to that data, and you get things updated at different schedules. Business data changes on a very regular basis, so we release that on a monthly basis. Postcodes a little less often, so it might be quarterly, might be annually, depending on the scale of postcode, but that all relates back to that address. The other good way is, through the precisely ID and being able to understand, when an address changes, and depending on the type of a change, you'll see that being managed through the precisely ID as well. So I think there's lots of things that you can call upon to understand that change over time.
Thank you, both of you. We have two more questions here. This one says, Emily, you said 41% of companies have issues with validation. Is the number changing or is it stable?
Yeah, good question. I would say obviously for this survey itself, we were polling a number of organizations, so I don't necessarily have the history of, what it looked like a year ago, for example. However, what I can tell you is, we're constantly surveying our customers, and obviously there's a lot of research that's published out in the market, and anecdotally I can tell you that I actually don't see significant change. We've been trying to tackle these problems for decades, it seems like, right? And so having that ability to improve validations, improve the integrity of data. This is a challenge we're continuing to run into, but I think the use cases have evolved. When we think about more of these analytical environments, we're doing these data transformation programs, data governance programs. The need for validation, it continues to change, and the requirements are changing associated with that. So, I do think, to directly answer your question, I think the number is stable from my perspective. I think this is an area that, we continue to struggle with, and the need is increasing. But how we go about it, the types of use cases we're trying to solve for continues to evolve.
Thank you, Emily. This question says, Place IQ is now precisely. Can I enrich my data with Place IQ data?
Yes, you will be very shortly. We are just in the process of deploying the Precisely ID into the Places intelligence metrics, which will help you get insights around places that you can link with the Precisely ID. So yes, that information is going to be able to link, and it does align with a lot of our spatial data, be it with our boundaries, the census block groups and blocks and such like. So yes, there is an alignment of those data sets.
Thank you, Andy. There's a question here. It's talking about spatial and GIS data. I would like to remind everyone that we have a session after this, quarter past the hour, that's all about spatial analytics and context. But it says, how do you handle spatial and GIS data?
Well, hopefully you've seen through both the what we've been talking about and the imagery that we had earlier on is spatial data is a key part of what we provide within the data enrichment. And how I've always talked about our enriched portfolio is we provide data about the market that has a location characteristic. It has a whole host of attribution there, but it means that you can locate it, or it's assigned to a type of location, be a postcode or a census block or a hex or a geohash or whatever it may be. We also have our spatial software as well. So we're both provide and develop data sets that have spatial components, be it boundary point, but we also have all the software to be able to handle that. And the Precisely ID is at the key of that, because one of the things we've certainly found is, the specialist skills you need to be able to exploit spatial data can limit companies' opportunity to exploit that and use that data. And we saw in the LeBeau information, I think it was 76% of companies are looking to exploit context location data. The Precisely ID is there to make that a lot easier, because we do the spatial processing and we deliver that to our customers in a much more effective and efficient manner than having to go through, I've got to do a pointing polygon and all of that. So yeah, we handle that data, we deliver it, and we have spatial software to be able to visualize and derive insights from that type of data. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Andy or Emily, is there anything else that you would like to add to this session today?
I would just add, we talk about a lot of our software and capabilities and rich capabilities. We're talking about validation. One of the great things around Data Integrity Suite is bringing these different capabilities together. And if we look at other parts like our governance or observability, you can apply that and look at our enrichment portfolio as well. And we use that within our own business. So, we've been building data products for well over 30 years, and we observe them. We look for change. We look at how they change, and we apply our software, our observability software, to look and understand what's happening within our source information, so we can capture, well, hang on a minute, why have we got like 40-50% less data coming in? That kind of information is really, really helpful. So observability to building data products is just key, and we apply it internally to be able to develop and keep the quality control around our own products that we're then delivering to our customers.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Andy and Emily, for talking to us today about data validation and enrichment.